welcome to Breakfast Central here on News Central Television on a fantastic Wednesday.
Thursday. Wow.
Okay.
Thursday. I know we confused you.
And
we told
to
you.
all our viewers across the world, we apologize for slightly starting behind schedule. We're tidying things up so that we can make the show as perfect as we can for you. It's not you, it's us. Okay?
What was that?
It was it's not there for
man, those were relationship statements.
It's
not you, it's me.
It's me.
Even when they know that it's entirely. Actually, it's oftentimes it's.
Have you ever been heartbroken before?
Oh yes, now.
Somebody as beautiful, as diligent, as intelligent as you. How dare they?
How dare they?
Name and shame, please. What's the name of the guy?
Number one. Okay, I'll do that.
Just first name. So, upcoming. I have a daughter now. So our daughters can beware of men named. Is there a Femi there?
No. Interestingly, the best treatment I've gotten in this life is from one of the people named Femi.
Oh,
I don't have a terrible experience with Femi.
Yeah, that's true.
Femi is such a great.
So just give us.
Yeah.
So Joe and I will go and tell our daughters that.
Yeah.
Please
anytime you hear
is that John?
Flee.
Is that John?
Name names they can't know now. How many? Olive, call them out. No surname, just give us names.
Because they may be watching this show.
Yes,
then this is one that will now go viral. All of them will now be like, eh?
And next time you stop breaking people's hearts.
Please, in case.
Don't go around breaking young girls' hearts. I wish I still had myself. I would have given you.
But you know the good thing. But you know the good thing about those people have broken my heart. Because when I finally get to meet the one, I can say, God bless the broken road that led me right to you.
Oh, wow.
Okay, away from relationship.
Anyway, yeah.
Welcome to Breakfast Central. This morning, we are not officially resigning from Breakfast Central to any other show. The only person officially resigning is Atiku, but we'll come to talk about that in a moment. My name is Olive Emodi. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the show.
Absolutely. My name is Joe Hansen. Welcoming you to today's broadcast, because aside from those who are resigning, we also have a response that was given to us yesterday. His Excellency Gregory Peter Obi decided to pay a condolence visit to the house and the home of the late former President Muhammad.
I heard that two of you were here dragging him for not
not dragging him, but we're highlighting the fact that he wasn't there.
Conspicuously missing.
Yes, but this time he didn't go alone. Just yesterday, he went with the entourage of Senator Atiku Abubakar, also the movement,
also
the
Labour
movement
Party,
of the Labour Party. And it was indeed, well documented.
Yeah, and it's still part of the funeral service, because yesterday happened to be the third day prayers for the late President Muhammad Buhari. The Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was also there as well.
Yeah.
There are still a beehive.
One of the criticisms that I had seen against Peter Obi was the fact that he said Pope died. You went all the way to Rome. This one that's within your vicinity, you didn't go and visit him. But the truth is, it's political season.
But he said he had logistics issues. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not holding brief for Peter Obi, but if you know Peter Obi well enough, from his antecedents, you can see he's the kind of person that will always show up. Peter Obi will always show up to support, to extend a helping hand. He would call it whatever you want. You can call it acting or whatever, but he has been consistent in showing up in cases like this. So I believe him if he says he had logistical challenges. I don't think that.
I mean, and besides, honestly, he really doesn't owe anybody. Person of the late president, his status, yes, but he could decide to send a condolence message.
I don't agree with that.
Is he a government official?
I don't agree with that, because he's vying for the highest office of the land. So every action that he takes will be put under a microscope and thoroughly analyzed.
Have we ever had any opposition leader as thorough, as consistent, as hands-on in the history of Nigeria? Since the last day of since the swearing-in of President Tinubu as president, he's been consistent.
Some people will say Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
No, I mean Alhaji Atiku Abubakar that used to travel to Dubai, then come back home, penultimate year to a general election, and then start. He had a laissez-faire type of, I'm a big man type of air about him. He released statements but it's hardly
I wanted
on the
to say
ground.
yes. Because
We've
when you
never had, I mean, this Fourth Republic.
But when you ask what exactly is opposition, when you ask exactly what an opposition is or what you expect opposition to do, because we've had
that is consistent,
hands-on.
Okay, what's the person's name?
Yes, okay.
Okay. Nah, he doesn't. I mean, it's one thing to be vocal, it's another thing to be there, right there.
So the question now is, what will constitute an opposition? An opposition would be somebody, or the act of being an opposition would be taking the policies of the government, dissecting it, looking for ways in which you can provide better solutions, which I think
and then when disaster happens, or when there's something was celebrated. He was at the Super Eagles game in Abuja.
Is that one sharp? It'll be his first position.
Yes, it's always. I mean,
he's always there. He's always there. He's always
done money to victims of disaster. You know, physically being present to offer them some sort of support.
And with the way in which they keep tearing him apart, even when he goes with the best of intentions, he goes to visit these people, and they will still tear Peter Obi apart. I mean, a regular person would have said, you know what, I'm not doing this thing again. I'm going to do my opposition with press. But it feels like every other day, Peter Obi, you can't even, and if I'm being, without being biased in any way, shape or form, if you want to analyze, I mean, we've just seen the picture of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and I think he's done great work in terms of opposing with letters and standing out. But if you want to look at the politician that has gotten the most flack, you know, who has been put under so much criticism and analysis and even support from Nigerians, I think Peter Obi is it.
Do you know why he's getting that amount of flack? Because he's doing a good job at his opposition work. So you shouldn't look at it like it's getting flack. It's just, you expect the ruling government not to fold their hands and accept all criticisms that is coming from him. It's payback, it's politics. So you say this about me, and then you expect a response. So it's the response we're getting, not necessarily intellectually backed or factual. It's just, you know, put dirt on his name.
Aside from those who are resigning, we also have a response that was given to us yesterday. His Excellency Gregory Peter Obi decided to pay a condolence visit to the house and the home of the late former President Muhammad.
I heard that two of you were here dragging him for not...
well, no, not dragging him, but we're highlighting the fact that he wasn't there.
Conspicuously missing.
Yes, but this time he didn't go alone just yesterday. He went with the entourage of Senator Atiku Abubakar, also the movement,
also
the
of the Labour Party.
The Labour Party. And it was indeed, you know, well documented.
Yeah, and it's still part of the funeral service, because yesterday happened to be the third day prayers for the late President Muhammad Buhari. And the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was also there as well. Yesterday. They're right, still a beehive.
One of the criticisms that I had seen against Peter Obi was the fact that he said Pope died. You went all the way to Rome. This one that's within your vicinity, you didn't go and visit him. But the truth is, it's political season.
But he said he had logistics issues. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not holding brief for Peter Obi, but if you know Peter Obi well enough, from his antecedents, you can see he's the kind of person that will always show up. Peter Obi will always show up to support, to, you know, extend a helping hand. He would call it whatever you want. You can call it acting or whatever, but he has been consistent in showing up in cases like this. So I believe him if he says he had logistical challenges. I don't think that...
I mean, and besides...
he said the former vice president, his ambition to become president has, in other words, blinded him from being able to distinguish when to do things and when not to do them, especially looking at the fact that there's a demise of Nigeria's former president. It wasn't the right time for him to have announced that he has left the PDP.
He said that apparently that letter was signed a day after President Buhari had died, so that he showed that he wasn't very sensitive. Not only did he criticize that, he also criticized the fact that the letter was signed with the coat of arms and saying that that's an offense.
Yeah. And I mean, as a former vice president,
he seems to be a representative of the government. He seems
he still has national honors.
Yes.
I think he's a GCO, and if I'm not mistaken, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So I don't think that is. But for the other issues, it's debatable. You could say, you know, life goes on, and others could say you could have waited for the 7-day official mourning period.
Yeah. But those who are supporting him will say he did it right on time because former President Muhammadu Buhari was a leader in the north. and this is some sort of a move to consolidate his leadership in the north. You know, so being able to say that the Northerners can look at him and look up to him. So what a number of people
there are
have said,
other Northern political leaders.
yes, but I mean, part of what they're saying now
you
is
could
that
say
this is,
self-appointed leader of the North.
his followers do not agree with you. Have you seen
Yes,
their
and the followers of other top Northern politicians
will also not agree as well.
also not agree. So
But-
it depends
but-
on which lens you're using.
Back to the statement Festus Keyamo made, he went ahead to say, I mean, whilst he acknowledges that within he has a constitutional right to actually change political parties, yeah, there you have it. It says, at any time you may wish. However, releasing your letter of resignation from the PDP during this week of the morning of our immediate past president, Muhammadu Buhari, is clearly an attempt to draw the spotlight away from such a solemn occasion and direct it on yourself. In fact, as the image below shows, you prepared, typed, signed, and delivered the letter the morning after the passing away of the former president was announced. With the greatest respect to you, this clearly demonstrates that your obsession with your perennial presidential ambition knows no sympathy or empathy. I want us to pay attention to this next paragraph where he says that, and since we are on the issue of your letter, it is both morally and legally wrong to continue to use the coat of arms of the federal government in your private or political communications when you stopped being a functionary of the federal government more than 18 years ago. Section 6 of the Flag and Coat of Arms Act, okay, Cap 430 F 30, I beg your pardon, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 makes this an offense. Okay, so I have a burden duty, both as a cabinet member and a member of the inner bar, to protect our laws and constitution. Please be well guided. So I think the minister has been able to make it clear how he feels, especially about the letter, and then going straight to ensure that the laws are being upheld. And that's why he highlighted that part of the law, stating clearly and categorically why the former vice president shouldn't be using the coat of arms, shouldn't be using the stamp, whatever it is that he puts on the letter, as long as it doesn't have to be associated.
Because I was going to ask,
the natural
question that comes to mind
left
is,
government.
who asked him to write that letter? In what capacity is he writing that letter?
He mentioned,
but he has mentioned that as a cabinet
that
minister,
as a cabinet minister and member of the inner bar.
So
but
Olive too can decide to pen such a letter.
But I also want
She's
to
a member
ask.
of the bar.
I also want to ask. I mean, why? I don't take a stand. I mean, I'm neutral. We're neutral as journalists.
We just
our job is to ensure we highlight, look at the
analyze.
angles. But one of the angles I want to highlight here is, while we are looking at what the minister has said, it's been long since we heard the minister speak on the Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan case. Or is he not is he not following the law too? Why hasn't he spoken on that issue? So that the National Assembly too can respect the laws.
Aviation and aerospace, please.
But with the letter written, it's a political letter. So why would he now leave? I mean, and then
he doesn't want to speak
also
on
the
too many issues. There are other people that can speak on that.
Yeah.
Also, he doesn't want to delve into the realm of legislative affairs.
Okay.
Right? He understands
Principles of separation of powers.
And even the supremacy of the law over the rulers, and you're supposed to be a lawyer in your former life. You're a lawyer. So
no wonder you're always fighting for coffee.
But the truth is that, I mean, that's another conversation that we're looking at later today.
But before we go to the reactions, I also want to point out one thing. Mr. Keyamo is Minister of Aviation and Aerospace. And just over the weekend, in the city of Port Harcourt, an aeroplane skidded off, veered off the tarmac into the bush. So why has he not reacted to that issue?
I can't say so. I don't know that he has not reacted.
He might have reacted, but that should be priority for him. There's a spokesperson in the APC. There's a minister of, there's a spokesperson, and there are people that should naturally react to such moves. Publicity secretary too. So
I think sometimes we also forget that at the end of the day, they're also politicians. They're on the cabinet, and every once in a while, you know, that inner urge
to fire,
to always come out, you know.
Always comes out.
Beyond everything else, or before everything else, before they are cabinets or whatever, they are politicians. Our politicians always trust politicians to politic. So I think that he's
Have you ever seen the finance minister, Mr. Wale?
You don't have time for such.
Comment on
you don't really have
such issues that are outside finance.
But you know why?
I mean, we can cut Mr. Wale with some slack. He's not standing as a front runner, as a politician, saying, okay, I'm a politician, I'm going to vie for office and so on. He was selected
from the private sector.
From the private sector. You know, even though we knew he had worked with the president while in Lagos State, you know, while he was way
but he
younger.
can also comment on national issues.
Yes, but I like the fact that he doesn't.
He's
do
a
that.
big boy minister. Let's not even go there.
There are levels.
He's
We know
a big boy
ministers.
minister.
We know. Minister is minister. They are all big. You know, Nigerian ministers.
Well, I wanted to call some ministers now, so
But
I was like, would I have not heard of them
as
since
if we're
they...
shading them. So let's just...
okay.
Let's move on to reaction.
There are some, can't you see that there's some ministers that ever since their official, what's that word? Is it inauguration, I'll call it. We haven't heard anything about them.
That's why
We've
we're
gone into
that's why
They're walking silently. They're moving in silence
Self-mode.
like they earn in lasagna.
that's why
Like
Like
the
the
K
G,
in
like the
knife.
G in lasagna.
that's why we're going to take our time.
Yes.
Hopefully next week we need to analyze. We need
All
to look at
these
what the
ministers.
ministers are really doing.
And the silent ones. We should have
the
a
silent
segment
ones.
called, and that's a good idea for
45?
you in Nigeria. Say, ode to the silent ministers.
Yeah.
It's a
Wake
drawing.
up.
It's a drawing.
Jima soon. Okay, let's take a reaction to Festus Keyamo's, not just Festus Keyamo's reaction, but of course Atiku's letter announcing this. Madi Shehu says, this Keyamo of it, oh, this is in response to Keyamo.
This is
Wow.
really I can't read
Of course, we know
I
Magic.
can't read that first one, but let's go. He said, which insensitivity is more grievous between Atiku's resignation during the bemoaning period of Buhari and that of Bola Tinubu, who abandoned Nigeria for a jamboree visit to St. Lucia and Brazil during the same week and mourning period of over 422 Nigerians killed in between Benue, Taraba, Niger, Yobe, Sokoto, and Zamfara. Which insensitivity is greater and more callous between Atiku's resignation during a mourning period of PMB?
It's morning, by the
yeah.
way, because children might be watching, and we need to teach them proper spelling.
M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. During the mourning period of PMB and that of Bola Tinubu, who kept silent and mum over the claim by Senate Committee on Public Accounts that a handful of NNPCL officials stole, diverted, misapplied, misappropriated $7 billion meant for the turnaround maintenance and repairs of Warri, Kaduna, and Port Harcourt refineries. Which insensitivity stinks and smells to high heaven between Atiku's resignation during a mourning period, that of Bola, who kept mum, looked away, and remained silent at the time when the Senate Committee on Public Accounts discovered that the sum of 210 trillion naira crude oil sale proceeds remain unaccounted by the NNPCL between 2017 and 2023. If this is the way the senior advocate in him reasons, behaves and thinks, then God save the weak. God save the bad, God save the bad, God save his would-be clients in court was appreciation. This
Stop.
that have just touched all of us.
Where's the
My learned colleagues.
what's it called? Where's the content? What's it? It's okay.
I don't know how this is pronounced. I'm going to try. Oveve Kuve.
You got it.
Keyamo wants to resume for where he stopped in 2023.
Now-
Aisha Yusufu asks. We have other reactions. Says, today is not the best day to attack Atiku on his political post. By attacking him, you have committed same blunder. That's
Go back there. Let's go back.
Let's pause there for a bit.
Click back.
Let's pause there for a bit.
Wow, guys, let's analyze.
You know what this reminds me?
Digest this.
He says, to the same measure with which you judge others, you will also be judged. Because if you say that now is not the time to announce your resignation because you
You're
are
also
mourning,
using that same period.
to now
to engage in political fights.
Yes.
and you're like
And wrestle.
one cold bottle of whatever it is you drink.
Political WWE.
Yes.
That
Wrong
goes.
timing too.
All right, now let's move to the next tweet. Ifedayo says, I will be disappointed if you've eaten since President Buhari passed through.
Since we are mourning now,
Okay.
you have to be humble.
Well, I when they cry, they see road. Okay, let's
You can cry with one eye and leave the other eye.
all right, let's go to another tweet, I believe. Or is this
Yeah, I mean that's
I think that's
all the
on
tweets we're going to take.
But I would like to respond to the first tweet
Yes.
we took. I mean, that's the beauty of democracy.
But then again,
freedom
let's-
of expression. You say something, and of course you expect a response.
Benga, let me
And
also-
that was a very poignant
That's a
response.
strong one. Let me also
you
highlight
accept
here.
the first two lines, Sha.
Let me also
Yes,
let's also
except
highlight
the
here that-
dominance, the insult.
We just want to highlight here that the same period the late president died, the special advisor to the president, Mr. Bayo Nanuga, also tweeted about Nigeria's reaction to the U.S. visa policy. Okay? So should he have tweeted when, you know, it was arrangements for the burial and so on? Should he have also talked about it, or should have just kept mum and waited for it?
Portfolio allows him to share information with Nigeria's media.
So can we also say that the politician also has the right to write, or could Peter Obi have also written reasons why he couldn't get there on time? Would it have been seen as a political clout chasing?
No.
Because he didn't go there, so he put up a long story of why he didn't get there during this whole period. Or should have just kept mum and get there on time?
So, I mean, Mr. Kiyama has just
where are we going with this?
Earnestness.
Yeah, where we're going with this is, it does, see, when people have lost a loved one, let them mourn. Let them do that in peace. Don't stare one reaction or the other just to try and score a point. That's what I think. Whether exactly. If His Excellency Atiku Abubakar has his own office, so if his office and his team have decided to say, we have a fixed date to put out this letter,
yeah, so
it shouldn't stop you. It's their business. You focus. The key thing is, he was there yesterday. And that's what matters. And guess what? There was a footage that actually surfaced online showing that the former vice president was one of those who had visited the late president right before he was flown out.
Oh, yes, we saw that. And I believe we shared it earlier.
Why didn't he also highlight that, Your Excellency, I remember when you had paid a condolence visit, rather, to him before he was actually flown outside of the country for treatment. You know, so some of these things we have to be careful. But then again, I must give the points to the whistleblower himself, Mr. Madi Shehu, for highlighting those key things. When people died, was there any that's why I said earlier on that I was expecting that the former minister will also make some statements.
Okay,
so guys,
I think we should also let the audience know.
Yeah.
You know, let's get your thoughts about this. Do you think that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's announcement of his defection during the period of mourning late President Muhammadu Buhari's demise, do you think that it was insensitive, or do you think it was just perfect timing? Please go on YouTube. We're streaming live at New Central TV. I'll check the comment section.
Or tweet at us. X us.
X.
And use the hashtag breakfast. Don't X us.
No.
Yeah, just
tweet X us.
And what I'm asking them to react is because we can say, on the one hand, that he's free to do whatever he wants.
We could do a poll.
But when Nigerian celebrities, in the midst of the, terrible things happening, the killings and the attacks happening in the middle belts, when they decide to go ahead with their lives and their followers decide to drag them and say you're being insensitive, is it not the same rule that applies? So when they say, oh, now is not a good time, can't you see we are mourning, now it's not the time to post your show, we see that happen all the time. So there's such a thing as, understanding what the climate is about. But let's get your thoughts.
I'm reading the room.
Raphael Edward has a message for you.
Yeah, I saw that.
He says, the lie you people always tell yourselves about Atiku being in Dubai just shows that you are biased.
Benga, are you biased?
Are you biased?
He used to be in Dubai for a long time. I'm just reporting information that is...
As a journalist, you follow that story as well. But let's move on to our last wake-up conversation. We're going to be very fast with this. Sometime, let's just say years ago, a former governor was actually charged to court. And it was an 11-count charge bordering on stealing and money laundering. And, of course, we all know him as a politician, one who doesn't hide his mouth, he speaks up, and one who had created a meme for Nigerians, and also through his vocal cord, shouting, I mean, Sifie pains. I'm sure you know Sifie.
His brother is also his brother is also very vocal. I think it's a family thing.
Yeah, it's a family thing.
Yeah, but they should be celebrating now.
Yeah, I mean, he's celebrating. Let's take a look at the video, then we'll tell you the story. So just watch this video. It's breakfast, but look at what he's having.
That's why we are celebrating with Amala.
Yes.
Yes. Jesus Christ says, these ones are my family. These are my family members. These gentlemen here. We thank God for giving me victory after 7 years. We give all the glory to God.
Thank you, Lord.
I hope you are enjoying your Amala. Yes. Enjoy it. Yes, thank you.
Enjoy your amala. That is His Excellency Ayo Fayose.
Yes.
One thing I've always seen the former governor as, you know the funny thing, I have never really looked at him as a governor of what we know in Nigeria, as a governor in Nigeria, and I'll tell you why. His modus operandi is different.
Oh, you mean status? Yes.
Status. The way he for me, I think he's just, if I were going to say there was another Peter Obi, I would say that's him. Because on Okada, you see him on the bike.
Yeah, eating corn.
Eating corn, and that is his life. It's not that, he's not doing it for the cameras. I remember when there was a video that caught him taking a bike from Ikeja. He was about to miss his flight to the airport, and he jumped and climbed the bike. And you know, he left his security operator. I don't care. He was on the road. There were other videos and all that. But anyway, that's just to backtrack. The point is, he was actually charged, like we said, 11-count charge on money laundering over 6.9 billion naira. And finally, he's gotten.
So it's worth celebration.
Yeah.
I also have to commend him for, you know, looking inwards and using amala to celebrate. Normally,
By the way,
I remember when Olive was called
he's
to
always
power,
known to eat amala.
it was champagne. We normally buy foreign, but he's following the government's policy of let's, you know, buy Nigeria to grow the naira,
that's what we
and that's amala.
So he can celebrate with amala, he can celebrate with Gary for all we care. I think we should not. I mean, it's funny, it's interesting, but coming back to the main issue, yes, there was a case against him. He was charged with a 6.9 billion naira court case. The Federal High Court in Lagos had said that, you know, had dismissed, said that there wasn't substantial evidence linking him, that the EFCC did not provide substantial evidence linking him to the commission of the offense. And that is something to be probed.
Yeah.
The defense, the witnesses that the EFCC brought, that, you know, their case wasn't strong enough to link Aidele Fayose to the commission of the crime. So the question is, did the EFCC do its due diligence? They do a thorough job. We know that when it comes to legal cases in Nigeria, not a lot of them can be frustrated by technical irregularities. So did they do their due diligence? Or was it, again, as the EFCC has been accused, a media trial where they just sensationalize the news because it's a public figure, they come and tell us that they're suing this person for so and so, but then nothing comes out of it. I think that's a question to delve deeper into. The EFCC has said that they're going to appeal this judgment, you know, and we, of course, will see what the next steps are. He's celebrating his win, but did they do a thorough enough job?
Fantastic analysis, Olive. You just hit the nail on the head. Because we've oftentimes, look, the EFCC is wrong with taxpayers' money, and they can't, it would be nice to see their scorecard in terms of the amount of judgments they've gotten in their favor. It's one thing to announce arrest and sensationalize and do media trials. It's another thing to secure convictions. While Mr. Fayose might be celebrating, we also need to understand how the judiciary works. The judiciary doesn't work on
It's not a Father Christmas. Because it's work with the facts
with the facts presented before it, beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah, but also don't forget that the former governor also, in his own jurisdiction, had also filed a no case submission at a certain point. So when he filed that, that also led to what we see here, which is also the result of him being acquitted, and he's celebrating. However, just as Oliver has equally highlighted, the EFCC spokesperson says they are going to, they would go through the entire court summation, the entire court case, and look thoroughly. And the reason why we must also, at some point, I'm just going to stand for the EFCC here now, is the fact that there's always transitions. We've seen different people head the EFCC at different times. Obviously, we know that.
But the lawyers are permanent.
We shouldn't affect.
And even if the lawyers
there was a former chief, there was a former judge on this case before the judge left, and then there was another one. I'm just saying this because we know how the Nigerian system works. Let's just be frank and clear. We're not saying that if there was a crime and he was found guilty, he shouldn't be convicted. We're not saying that. We're just saying that definitely, I agree with you that the process needs to be checkmated.
Let me even read here. It says, the court held that the EFCC had not been able to establish or link Fayose to the crime. Neither was a prima facie case made against him to warrant defense.
That's what I'm saying.
A prima facie case wasn't established.
That's what I'm saying.
So
the basic,
that's
the
like
elementary.
basic.
So that's what I'm saying.
101.
Since 2018,
Yeah, so EFCC, long and short of it, they should channel their energy into into their legal team, do a better job and prioritize convictions rather than going
that's
after people
that's why I'm highlighting one thing that we almost agree, whether we like it or not here this morning. The fact that the EFCC has been seen as an anti-graft agency that is mostly being used for perpetuating actions driven by either the
political
people in power,
interest,
which is for political interest, we will continue to have situations like this.
Exactly.
Now, it could be that the former EFCC boss, who was Bauer, while he was there, it could be that there was someone else who had his own political interest to ensure that whatever happens, this particular person, I must see him arrested.
Institutions should be independent
now,
of
that's
the
the problem in
interference.
Nigeria. Are they?
I mean, we're going to take reactions now. Oba says, Fayose really said from court to canteen, Amala and 6.9 billion naira digest better with the people. Man's living proof that in Nigeria, you beat the case, you bless the plate.
That's right, man. That's right. Oba vibes.
Yes. Man, Ego Saibin says, after they don't destroy and loot the country dry, they're going to start to quote scripture.
Yes, so.
That's from Egosa. This one says, cost of revenue, lawyer legal fees 10 million naira, Amalan drinks for the self and workers 24,750. Gross
How
profit.
did you get that calculation?
See the gross profit. So there's still a lot.
Please, can we have that video before we leave? I want to highlight something very important.
Yeah,
so you can see that video in the background. What caught my attention is, on a lighter note, is the guys using cutlery to eat amala.
Okay, those are the
construction workers. But I guess,
I guess
it's safety first, yes, because they have taught a lot of cement and potter.
So just in case you're wondering, 6.9 billion sounds it sounds a lot. Let's take a few more tweets and I'll come back to just briefly touch on what the details of it are. Fayose and stomach infrastructure are 5 and 6. I mean, that phrase will never go out of Nigeria's political conversations. Stomach infrastructure. Meanwhile, another governor don't escape jail. Hey, this is from CB Mako. This Nigeria, fake life plenty. The person will buy you food, they use hand. And people will know sabi use spoon, eat local food, they pretend using spoon. Or guys, not pretend. They've been working. Their hands are dirty, as you can see. Make them use cement.
It takes a while to wash out cement.
Amala with a touch of cement.
Yes, you just have to use your cutlery.
Just so we're very clear, the issue is because they say Fayose allegedly took possession of 1.2 billion naira for his 2014 gubernatorial campaign and received $5 million in cash from Obanikoro, bypassing financial institutions, and he was also accused of laundering various sums, retaining and using over 1.6 billion naira to acquire properties through proxies and companies. These are some of the allegations against him. But information, I mean, this story continues. The EFCC says they will challenge this decision in court. Let's now share with you what our top stories this morning are on Breakfast Central. Top stories this morning. Akpabio appeals Uduaghan's reinstatement ruling. It says that he doesn't want to let go of this. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar officially resigned from the People's Democratic Party, clings to new political alignment ahead of 2027. National Medical Association gives federal government ultimatum, threatens to strike over poor pay. FCT Abuja set to move beggars into temporary facility in Operation Sweep Abuja. We bring the newspaper front pages with you, taking your calls as well as with our analysts here in the studio. Stay tuned for all these and more. Nigeria's Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has filed an appeal challenging the Federal High Court's ruling that ordered the reinstatement of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. In a notice of appeal dated July 14, 2025, and filed at the Abuja Division of the Appellate Court, Akpabio is seeking to overturn the July 4th judgment delivered by Justice Binta Nyako. The court had ruled that her 6-month suspension was excessive and violated the right of her constituents to representation. Akpabio's legal team is contesting the High Court's jurisdiction, insisting the matter concerns the internal affairs of the National Assembly and falls outside judicial purview, as provided under Section 251 of the 1999 Constitution. In the 11th-ground appeal, Akpabio faulted the lower court for dismissing his preliminary objection and for issuing orders affecting parliamentary procedures protected by law.
He argued that issues related to suspension, words spoken during plenary and Senate resolutions are safeguarded under the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act and cannot be subjected to judicial interference. Join us this morning to discuss this is legal practitioner Mr. Evans Ufeli. A warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Morning.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Now,
first and foremost, the Senate President is arguing that it will amount to judicial interference, the affairs of the legislature, that it's family business. Does the Federal High Court have jurisdiction to intervene in internal legislative matters like suspensions, or was it an overreach? And also, it would be nice for us to give us precedents on, like the Senator Riyom that was suspended. How did that end? Was there back and forth? How were they reinstated back to the Senate?
Yeah, Senator Mogege went to court, okay? When Dino Melai was also suspended, he went to court, and the court reinstated both of them, respectively. So in the case on that reference, it is a good preliminary objection to raise that that is a legislative affair, and because that is why you cannot actually sue a lawmaker for defamation when his utterances are attributed to utterances made at the floor of the House. So that legislative privilege, you know, actually is an exception to the rules of defamation and also issues like that. You see, but the same law that says that there's legislative privilege, and so what they discuss and what they do, their actions are supposed to be exclusively to them. The same constitution also made provision for legislative representation, okay? That constituencies around the country have a right under the law to be represented in the House, okay? So you cannot wholesomely rely on that provision of the law that every decision taken in the House is legislative business, and therefore the courts cannot interfere. No, you can't do that. The exceptions are quite clear. If you make utterances that turn out to be defamatory, you say certain things about certain persons, but not a decision like this. I mean, why did the court reinstate Dino Melai and reinstate the other Senator Mogege when they had that issue? In fact, the truth is that, like the court said, that reprimand, that action of the Senate is excessive. And they didn't just say just because Natasha is a lawmaker. They said because it denies her constituent representation. And it is not the intendment of the draftsman or the lawmaker that any constituency of the country be left out of representation. It is not. So while you can argue it back and forth, and I'm happy that the case is now before the higher courts now, okay? So the higher court will look at it deeply and tell us, or tell Nigerians, whether every decision, because the Senate can err, they can also conspire to do wrong. And when there is a wrong, there must be a remedy.
Yeah. Okay,
so it is not a sustainable argument that every decision taken by the Senate, there cannot be legislative, there cannot be judicial intervention when it appears that such decisions is contrary to the intent of law, especially when it affects a wide spectrum of constituents that constitutes the nation. I mean, the people of Kogi Central for the past 4 months have no representation, okay? So what is the remedy for these citizens if we all agree that every legislative actions, you know, legislative privileges can be abused also.
Yeah.
Part of the exception of the law is also that legislative businesses or decisions must be judicious and judicial. They must do things on the basis of equity and fairness.
But what if the Senate argues that how are they supposed to instill discipline on the floor if every case goes to the court? And if there's always judicial interference?
No, they can instill discipline, except that their rule book also is deficient because it did not state the the time lag within which someone can be suspended. So it's then the prerogative of the Senate President to just, dish out a penalty. What you are doing is that you are now constituting the Senate President as a judge of some sort that can suspend any member indefinitely or 6 months and all. How many days will they sit per year? You are asking someone to stay away for 180 days. I mean, when you take that away from the number of days they sit, you have nothing left. So
I think they should have started for a minimum of 181 days in a year.
Yes. So when you take that away, you have.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, and this is me diverting slightly from the context of the conversation at hand when we were talking about legislative matters being an exception to the conversation about defamation. The case that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan had very strong accusations against the Senate President. Would the case have been different if she had brought it before the House and had not taken it to the media first? Would that have protected her from whatever suit that has been instituted against her?
Well, taking it out actually gave it traction because from the look of things, the principal members were virtually all against her, on the issue of the sitting and all that. So they've told her she ought to apologize and do what she ought to do. I am not. I do not agree that people should be bullied. The Senate President and Natasha had a mandate of their people to represent their people. So Akpabio is just first among equal. It's as good as any other person. Any other person can be in that position. So it is wrong for him to arrogate such kind of authority to determine that kind of punishment. I mean, I think that is wrong. She went to the media to vent. I mean, I don't think there's any law or any code in the Senate that says that you cannot discuss Senate matters of Senate on TV or in the press. I mean, members of committees are usually interviewed by journalists. I mean, they're invited to speak as I'm speaking. So I don't think there's anything. We should allow people exercise their fundamental rights in this country. It's very important. When you stifle fundamental rights, you have no moral rectitude to call yourself a lawmaker, because legislation is important, and the legislature themselves, they are at the center of democracy itself. That's where every democratic ethics revolve around. So they should be able to uphold the Constitution first. But what they are doing is that they want to uphold their rule book, their rule in the House. They want to uphold it, and they are not looking at other sections of the Constitution that talk about the representation we're talking about. And when you deprive a constituency, in fact, the constituency can even go to court. Would you say that if the constituency go to court that they have no rights because it's legislative privilege, that the decision you took is legislative, therefore they must swallow it and act by it when it affects them? So I do not think that but that's why we have courts of law. The Court of Appeal will expand on that issue, why the presumption of objection was knocked off, and why the judge at the lower court, Justice Binta Nyako, said what she said, the pronouncement she made.
Okay. I'd like you to talk on a line here in this news piece. It goes ahead to say that Senator Akpabio is seeking an order striking out what he described as duplicated reliefs in Akpoti-Uduaghan's application for interlocutory injunction, mandatory injunction, and originating summons. It's a bit mouthful, though, especially for those who are watching. I'm sure they really want to understand the breakdown.
For us non-lawyers.
Yeah. Furthermore, Akpabio is asking the Court of Appeal to invoke its powers under Section 15 of the Court of Appeal Act to dismiss Akpoti-Uduaghan's suit for lack of jurisdiction. So is he just asking that, is he just saying that they do not want to follow the directive from the court, and is also asking for more. In other words, to keep Natasha where she is currently.
Yes, what it's asking for is that the Court of Appeal should intervene in the matter and set the record straight as regards that preliminary objection, because the court itself, the Court of First Instance itself, has no jurisdiction. That's what he's saying in their preliminary objection. When you say a court have no jurisdiction, you are saying that the matter brought before the court have no powers under the law to entertain it in the first place, let alone making a pronouncement on it. And he's saying that on the basis of the fact that whatever decision they took at the floor of the House, and therefore there is no, the court have no interference. It's like saying, for example, if the lawmakers reach a decision, conspire and reach a decision to eliminate all their constituency members. For example, what Akpabio is saying is that if anybody goes to court to say that decision is arbitrary, it's an abuse of legislative privilege, what Akpabio is saying is that that person have no right to go and contest it. That's exactly what he's saying. But that cannot be the position. If there's legislative error, or if they use their powers arbitrarily, even judges are punished by the CJN when they abuse their powers under the law. Okay? So I do not think that ground of appeal, in my estimation, enhances democracy or equity and fairness.
As we speak, the people of Kogi Central are still not represented, and the days are counted. With this with this response by the Senate President, it means it's going to prolong more their days of non-representation. Is there a timeline to this, and can we really say, you know, this should be over at a certain level? And then if Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan had done the part where the court said, you know, she should apologize in the national dailies, and that, would this be different?
Well, she's also contesting that, you know. She's also contesting that perhaps if she had apologized according to, because the issue on apology has to do with the sarcastic apology she did on her Facebook page.
Yes.
And then the court have said she should make publication on 2 national dailies, and on her Facebook page she should, with respect, that because the matter then was sub judice.
Because it was still in court.
Yes, and so she committed what we call contempt es facie curia. And law means contempt that is committed outside the courtroom, okay, which runs contrary to orders of the court. Because at the time she made that sarcastic apology, parties had joined issues. Parties are supposed to maintain the status quo until the determination of the substantive suit. She didn't, it was during the pendency that she went on and did that. So that was actually wrong. But now...
But she is now contesting that.
She's contesting that, and these other persons are contesting this other part. So...
and the Kogi Central people are suffering from lack of...
Yes, I don't know why the Kogi Central people have not applied to join the suit. Because it affects them. They have locus in law. A necessary party is a party who will be affected by the outcome of a court decision. So the people of Kogi Central, I do not know why, because they are supposed to apply to join the suit, make the necessary application. That whilst both sides are making back and forth, the court should consider the constituency to reinstate their representative first. Then every other thing can follow. Because the number of days under which they have misrepresentation, you understand, should be, who is going to take care of that? So who's going to take care of that, because they are shortchanged? Okay. But it's up to them to
maybe the governor, Usman Ododo, the other line, is taking care of them.
I know the governor is part of the executive, I mean, at the state level. We're talking about representation at a federal level. They do not have, but they have a constitutional right to have that.
And I wonder what the remedy would be like for having deprived them of constitutional representation. But I want us to go back to something. I mean, we often say that the court is not a Father Christmas. It will only grant the reliefs that has been asked of the court. Part of the argument, apart from the fact that they're challenging the jurisdiction of the court, part of what Akpabio's team is saying is that the judge erred by making recommendations for her recall without giving both sides an opportunity to address the issue. He says, and I quote, "The court cannot grant a relief that was not asked for." The appeal stated, pointing out that the Federal High Court's recommendation that Senator Natasha be recalled was not one of the reliefs she sought in her originating summons. The court crossed the line.
That is wrong. That expression is very wrong. I don't know which lawyer is couching that. You can't say that. Under the law, there's what they call consequential orders. That is why when you frame your motion, say this court will be sitting social time, 9 o'clock, and we're out there for so soon thereafter, you now say an order that this. When you are done with everything, there's what they call omnibus provision, the last order, and for such further orders as the court may deem fit to make in the circumstance of this case. That is omnibus. That order empowers the court, yes. That one empowers the court to make any other order that is not
expressly asked.
Yes, asked for. Okay? So the court can stand on that omnibus order, okay, to make such order because the court is dominus litis, okay? I mean, its powers given to it by the Constitution is to determine, by Section 6 of the Constitution, is to determine issues before it. Okay, as long as jurisdiction is conferred on that particular court, it has power to make consequential orders. If you look at the case of Senator Amechi and INEC, when the court made Rotimi Amechi a governor when he did not contest election, the prayer in that suit, there was no such prayers that he should be made a governor when he didn't contest election. But when the court looked at it, that he was deprived of his constitutional rights, wrongly substituted by fraudulent means, the court made a consequential order.
So this is a consequential order?
Yes, so that appeal, they have no breadth of law.
So another follow-up would be, if this is being challenged at the Court of Appeal, because the Senate has said that the court has acted outside jurisdiction, so they're not following this and saying that the judiciary has the right to meddle with the affairs on the legislative floor. What guarantee do we have that if, I mean, we can't preempt the court, but will the Senate be bound by the decision of the Court of Appeal? Or again, we might still see a roller coaster of them taking it to the Supreme Court if it doesn't, go in their favor?
The case under reference is the Supreme Court still have appellate jurisdiction. Of course, the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court have appellate jurisdiction. The Court of First Instance, that is Federal High Court, and what they call original jurisdiction. That's why the case was commenced there. So, but if the Court of Appeal delivers judgment and either the Senate or Natasha, they are not satisfied, they can go on appeal. You can also go on appeal when judgment is delivered in your favor. Yes. Okay. That's what we call cross appeal. Okay. Yes, because you are saying judgment has been delivered in your favor, but all the orders you ask for, the court did not grant all. And so you are bringing a cross appeal, even though the judgment is in your favor, you are bringing a cross appeal.
Asking for more.
Yeah.
Twist.
Yeah. So you are asking the court, the higher court to do that. Sometimes the higher court may agree and set there. Sometimes the higher court may even say that the law was wrong to even give you any of the orders at all. So it depends on where you are.
It's a gamble.
So it's a gamble.
Yes.
Either you get it or you don't.
Now, Mr. Feli, since we've been here before in this Fourth Republic, case in point, Senator Dino Melaya and Senator Ovie Omagege, didn't that set a precedent that, look, the judiciary can interfere, I use that in loose term, in legislative matters, because we didn't see such pushback and back and forth. Once the courts asked that they be returned to the Senate, they went back to the Senate and there was no back and forth. So what makes this case different?
Mind you, in both cases you just cited now, the court reinstated them on the basis of their constituency, deprivation, not based on whatever offense the Senate feel they committed.
Yes.
You understand? You see, it cannot be the law that any decision reached by the Senate cannot be challenged. It cannot be the law. It is there in the Constitution, okay? But you see, there are exceptions to every general rule. I mean, the fact that there's legislative privilege is supposed to protect the lawmakers from, otherwise, we'll be suing them every day. Like I follow my lawmaker very keenly, and he knows that anything he's saying, I follow. And after every sitting, I send him text message that was good. This was very bad. What were you thinking? You understand? So
I wish more Nigerians would do that.
If keeping them on their toes.
If we're given the right to challenge them at every point in court, my own lawmaker, I will have over 60 lawsuits on him. If he will not know what he's doing again, because you understand? So the reason they are protected is that legislative privilege is meant to protect them.
Sort of like what the
protection
clause does for
yes. That protection does not mean that when they take decisions that are inimical to the Constitution and democracy itself, they are still protected. What they say that they're saying is that whatsoever they do, they stand protected. That's what they're saying.
But you cannot stand protected when the rights of people have been trampled on. In this case,
especially the people,
the representation.
I know we're out of time. Just quickly, just very briefly. Senator Natasha was removed from being committee chair of the NGOs and diaspora. Was it right to remove her when she was not seated?
Well, that is the Senate's, that's a prerogative, that's Senate business. Okay. For that one, if we contest it, they can go to court and tell us that, yes, the court has no jurisdiction on their affairs, because really, it does not impugn on constituency or whatsoever. It is that is the kind of business that they are protected from, you understand? Not the one, because why they all gathered there, the reason they are constituted is because of the people. If there's no representative government, they will not be there. Right. Okay. Under the military, where were they? They were nowhere to be found. So, I mean, this is what the law is. You cannot take a decision that is at variance with the principles and ethics of democracy and then rush to court to say that you are protected under the laws. That is why you are acting. I don't think that's right.
Thank you so much for joining us, Evans.
My pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have you. Let's now share what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar officially resigns from the People's Democratic Party. The National Medical Association gives federal government ultimatum, threatens to strike over poor pay. Retired soldiers hold peaceful protests at Finance Ministry over unpaid allowances. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We have a little bit of breaking news. The publisher of Ovation International magazine, Dele Momodu, Chief Dele Momodu, has resigned as a member of the People's Democratic Party. But let's unpack a new development that has created a seismic shift in Nigeria's political landscape. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has officially resigned from the People's Democratic Party. Again, yeah, that's the second time he'll be resigning as a member of the PDP just ahead of the 2027 general elections. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's resignation letter, dated July the 14th and made public yesterday, cites irreconcilable differences and a loss of faith in the party's current trajectory.
Now, this is Atiku's third exit from the PDP. He previously left in 2006 and 2014, only to return later. But this time, it feels different as he appears to be spearheading a coalition under the African Democratic Congress alongside other heavyweights like Peter Obi, Nasir El-Rufai, and Rotimi Amechi. Although Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has expressed no fear over the ongoing African Democratic Congress coalition by some notable politicians in the country.
Well, the governor said the development could not affect the progress of his party, the People's Democratic Party, in any manner. The big question is, what does this mean for the PDP, and how will this affect the unity of the opposition party ahead of the elections in 2027? Joining us for this discussion is Senior Political Assistant to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. We do have Mr. Demola Lariwaju, who joins us live. Mr. Demola, thank you so much for being here. I do recall that while you were here with us in the studios, you have been a staunch supporter of the People's Democratic Party, holding faith that it would not be naked nor stripped off. It will remain as a very viable and strong opposition. But it seems like some things are starting to change. What's going on?
Thank you, Joe. Good morning. Good morning to you guys. I think over the last couple of months, it's been very, very clear to everybody that the PDP has become it has not been able to differentiate itself from the APC in every regard. It has not been able to live up to the role of opposition that is expected of it. It has not generally fulfilled the aspirations of Nigerians. And so, when last I was there in the studio, I did say that the PDP needed to resolve the internal contradictions within its ranks. The internal contradictions being some members of the party serving with the APC ruling party, and some members of the party out that they would work for the re-election of the incumbent president. So I think those are the reasons why the PDP has now continued to lose faith, lose the trust of Nigerians, and lose the trust of politicians as well, including His Excellency Atiku Abubakar and some of us who have always been members of that political party.
At what point did Alhaji Atiku Abubakar decide to leave the People's Democratic Party? And I ask this because just barely 3 months ago, his media aide, Paul Ibe, was seen addressing the defection of the former vice presidential candidate of the PDP, Senator Okowa. And he was, first of all, he stated that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar held no grudge or grievance against the fact that Senator Okowa had left to the PDP, saying that he had the democratic freedom to align with any political party that he chose. He then went further to explain that, basically looking at the fact that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar had no intentions to move to another political party as he was with the PDP. So again, at what point did Alhaji Atiku Abubakar decide that the PDP was no longer a viable tool for his expectations or his democratic dreams for 2027?
Well, I mean, over the years, we've contested twice on platform of PDP, contested in 2019, contested in 2023. And so that has led to a lot of questions that we did not, end those elections the way it ended because of not putting in effort. 2023 made it very clear that the PDP was not a fit platform to contest nationwide elections and win. Events since then have also proven that the PDP has not been able to live up to its standard as an opposition. And Atiku Abubakar, despite his age, remains somebody who is vibrant in thought, somebody who believes very much in opposition politics, that if they are either in power doing good for the people, or we are playing the role of opposition for the benefit of the people. Okay, and so it has definitely been something on his mind that let us have
a viable opposition in the country. I want to be part of that coalition. I think the best answer to your question would be that the letter
Demola, if you can hear me, we're having an issue with your audio. Something changed at the point where you started to answer my question. So if you maybe can exit and rejoin the chat, that'll be helpful, so we can sort out what the audio issues are. But we cannot hear you. Your voice sounds very muffled. So we're still, for those who are just joining us, you can let us know. We're going on YouTube as well to check for your comments and your reactions to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar having officially dumped the PDP and left the APC. And also recent development will be that the chief editor of the Ovation magazine, Chief Dele Momodu, has announced his defection from the PDP as well, and has now aligned himself with the ADC, saying that it's time for him to leave the carcass of the PDP at this point. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody, because the last time we had Chief Momodu speaking about the PDP, you could tell the fact that he no longer was
things happening.
Yes, he no longer was interested.
And I don't think it's his qualification. Well, he's entitled to his opinion. To call it a carcass of a party that still has quite a number of governors in the country, I don't think it's the right words to use. But
right.
He's entitled to his opinion.
On YouTube, we have Akinwale Akinsoya, who says freedom of association is allowed. That's true. Freedom of association is indeed allowed. But let's now bring the conversation back to our guest, Demola, who has joined us now. Demola, you were answering the question I had asked earlier, saying, at what point the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar decided that he needed to leave the People's Democratic Party and was no longer a viable instrument for his democratic goals, especially because barely 3 months ago, we had his media aide, Paul Ibe, addressing this and saying that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was not leaving the PDP.
So I think that it's a result of the fact that Atiku Abubakar has run on top of PDP twice, 2019 and 2023. And in 2023, certain elements within the party sabotaged the party, clearly show, and those same elements are vowed to work for the election of the incumbent president. And so that makes it clear that the PDP cannot distinguish itself from the APC and live up to its role as the opposition party. So that's where the problem comes from. At a specific time when these conversations started, I think the conversations about the coalition had started a long time before now. But at the time that he decided, I would say the date on the resignation letter was the date of his official resignation. And to mention or to address what Zinga was talking about as the PDP being a carcass, I think the defection of those governors, several of those governors have left openly.
To interject again, because the audio is still very poor, maybe we would have to ask you if you can disconnect from your earpiece so that we can sort out the audio as well, because we do want our audience to get the best of this so they can get to hear his answer. I mean, beyond, whilst they're trying to sort out Demola's audio, beyond looking at why this is happening now, if this was the plan all along, there's so many other areas I would like for him to address.
Oh, yes.
I would like for him to address those who are criticizing the timing of this, stating that, it should have been done, earlier. But let's go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we will try reconnecting with Demola to see if we can have an extensive conversation about the move by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Please don't go away. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We, of course, were going to still be looking at the PDP and the decision of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to jump ship, to abandon the PDP, someone who is considered one of the founding fathers of the party. We're joined this morning by Demola Olariwaju, who is a political assistant to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Thank you for staying tuned. Demola, your response to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar leaving at this time, especially when, as recently as 3 months ago, his media aide Paul Ibe had said clearly that he would not believe in the PDP. At what point was this a decision for him?
I think it had been an ongoing discussion, basically based on the analysis of the 2019 and the 2023 elections, where he ran on the PDP platform, and we could clearly see that the results of those elections were not as a result of his not putting in the effort. He put in the effort, but as seen clearly in 2023, there was a lot of sabotage within the party. So those discussions are clearly being on for the sake of Nigerians, because the PDP has not lived up to its role as an opposition party, and so you know, a lot of patriots across various political parties have been in those discussions for a while for the sake of Nigerians, that how do we distinguish ourselves from the APC? And so, you know, for me, the PDP has glaringly failed to live up to the standard of opposition, and it is important that, you know, those politicians seize the bull by the horns at this point in time. And I find it remarkable, really, that despite, you know, his age, His Excellency is still at the forefront of this, is still able to champion this, is still, you know, desirous of working within the system to create the change or to create the kind of leadership that Nigerians want. So I think it is commendable. And as to what I heard Benga mention as regards PDP being a carcass, you know, the governors who are in PDP presently, the truth is, you've seen the defections over the last couple of weeks and months into the APC, because most of them clearly know that the PDP is no longer fit for purpose, can no longer win elections nationwide, can no longer play the role of opposition. And so you will see, so there's a need to create that opposing force, that opposition force, which is, you know, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, as against the APC. So what you will see in the PDP over the next coming weeks also, you will see some governors move into the ADC to play the opposition role, and you will see some governors move into the APC to attempt to use the federal might to truncate the will of Nigerians in 2027.
Paul Ibe was aware at the time that this was being said, and he was just being a politician when he was saying that he had no intentions of leaving the party. Is that again furthering the narrative about how politicians already have their plans in place, but when they come out, they tell us a different story, and there's no fire without a smoke?
No. I think Mr. Paul Ibe's statement was clear. His statement was clear. As at that time, there were discussions on how the nature of the coalition would be. So Mr. Paul Ibe's claims were his position was very clear in the sense that there was no intent at the time. And that's why I said that the date that he left is the date that he left, which is July 14, 2025. Right. Any other discussion before then, nothing was set in stone until the day that he actually put pen to paper. So, you know, my Oga Paul Ibe is not a politician, he's a straight shooter, a journalist, and one of high repute.
Just to be clear, Mr. Olarinwaju, it was Chief Dele Momodu that described the PDP as a carcass of its self. But I want to take you up on your principle. He will be 80 in 2027, and he's contested for the presidency a number of times. And critics have said, is it not time for him to play the role of an elder statesman? So his resignation from the PDP, is it to further his personal ambition, or is it part of his nation-building efforts? And can you confirm if he has presidential ambitions? Because some of the criticism of the ADC is that, I mean, it can't work because you have so many members that want to be president and too many chefs, like they say, spoils the broth.
Well, we are all here, all four of us here want to talk. But the only person who gets to talk part time is the one who we all agree can talk. So when you say Demola can talk, I then talk. When when you say stop talking, I then. So what I'm saying is aspirations clashing in politics, it's normal. That is a sign of a healthy and vibrant political party. The aspirations in the ADC show clearly that the ADC is a living entity. It's a living political entity. Whoever wins the ticket, all the others will rally around them and support them. As to His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, I think that, I find it very positive that at his age he is still contributing to nation building. This is someone who's 80, as you said, he's going to be 80, and he is still at the forefront of the opposition movement. Again, and you see younger politicians, who are taking ministerial appointments, taking ambassadorial appointments, rather than helping the PDP to become a viral opposition. I think, he could easily have said, I want to retire home, I want to retire into a life of luxury, after serving Nigeria for so long. But for him to still be at the forefront is two things. Number one, the desire to serve the country, and number two, the desire to make things right when things are going wrong. There is clearly a need for the opposition to exist. The results in 2023 showed that Atiku Abubakar commands a very large following in this country. And for him to mobilize that base against the ruling party, I think, it's something commendable for the benefit of all Nigerians.
President Bukola Saraki was saddled with the responsibility to try and bring the PDP back together. And of course, the acting national chairman, Demagun, and not forgetting to the FCT as well, Dogora. All of these big names are starting to ensure that the party is put together in bits and pieces. Are you saying now that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has left, and of course Dele Momodu has followed suit, are we likely to see more persons leave the PDP? That's one question. Secondly, is it a case of everyone leaving as a result of wanting the party to solely belong to the FCT minister so he can do with it the way he wants or chooses?
Well, I think, yes, we are definitely going to see a lot of exits from the PDP into the ADC opposition force. The last time I was there, I mentioned that the PDP for me has now become divided into two camps. One camp wants to align with the APC, one camp wants to play the role of opposition. So those of us who want to play opposition will leave the PDP and join that ADC coalition, or behave like some of them, stay in the PDP and work for the opposition, and leave those who want to align with the government to align with the government. So yes, I believe that we'll see mass defections in the coming days from the People's Democratic Party. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, who is a two-time presidential candidate of the party, he has shown the way, and a lot of followers all across the country will definitely follow suit. As to abandoning it to the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, I think, it's more, there will definitely be some people who will continue to contend for the soul of the party with him. It will never be, handed over or given to him to do as he pleases. But what has happened now is that we have denied him of the needed political relevance with the president, or the negotiating power with the APC, because, he has been using, that's his only leverage. That's his only reason for being in the cabinet of the APC, that he uses PDP as the leverage, and I will continue to cause trouble within the party, and that's what we've seen. So despite the best efforts of some of these people, and I think, at this point, nobody should continue to delude themselves. If Atiku father of the party, if Atiku Abubakar, as a former president candidate of the party, as a former vice president on the platform of the party, if he can courageously decide to leave, then I think anybody who is sincere about the PDP becoming an opposition party should stop this this ruse of a reconciliation, or these people cannot be appeased. This is definitely not an easy decision for Atiku. A lot of effort had gone into reconciliation. We had even moved on from the anti-party activities of 2023, okay, where the governors worked against us. We had said, okay, do you know what, can we start afresh ahead of 2027? But people within the party are desperate to keep that party in crisis mode, and that has necessitated this. So, I think that answers your question. There will be a lot of defection, and at the same time, there will be some people who will remain to contend for the soul of the party with those people who are intent on working with the APC.
My final question, and if you can answer this as quickly as possible, I'll appreciate that. You've said you've applauded Alhaji Atiku Abubakar for being courageous enough to still want to be in the forefront of, directing Nigeria's political landscape. If now that he's moved to the ADC, he does not get the party's ticket to run for office in 2027, do you think he'll be courageous enough to step aside and support whoever gets the ticket?
Yes, I can say that confidently, because I've known Atiku Abubakar. I followed his politics for a very long time. He has always been a Democrat. He lost the primaries in 2011 to Goodluck Jonathan. He stayed and worked for Goodluck Jonathan. He lost in 2015 the APC primaries to Muhammadu Buhari. He stayed and worked for Muhammadu Buhari. Wherever the process has been free and fair, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar will always support the winner who emerges in a free and fair election process. So I can say that confidently. He will support whoever wins the coalition ticket in this new arrangement in a free and fair primaries. But of course, we are confident that if he decides to run, he will definitely win.
Now, finally, some personal question. You've been a member of the PDP as long as we can remember. Are you finally going to jump ship with your principle and leave the fold of the People's Democratic Party? Demola Olarinwaju.
Well, I can say that I can't answer that categorically, because my letter is written, but it has not been acknowledged as
What are you waiting
so
for?
So once the letter is acknowledged as received, I will then
What are you waiting for?
Well, I mean, I've written the letter, it has not been acknowledged. I'm waiting for my ward chairman to acknowledge receipt of the letter.
So you've sent the letter to them?
Oh, yes, I definitely have.
Well, so that means it's as good as, equity in this case will see that which ought to be done as done, because you are as good as on your way out of the PDP. Demola Olawale, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We look forward to having more conversations.
We wish you all the best in your new political endeavors. Hopefully it won't be as
Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to be with you.
All right. Very interesting conversations we've had. By the time I've been going on YouTube, I'm seeing a number of the reactions to this as well. We're seeing Akinwale Akinsoya, who says, Atiku's move will signal a shift in Nigerian politics. Raphael Edwards says, the goal is to remove Tinubu. If Atiku will spearhead it, so be it. It's right. Then Mokunye Chukwuemeka, I believe he's quoting Osaro Geboa when he says, why can't we all come together and say we don't want an 80-year-old president, born those in their 80s and about to be 80? Why can't we all just say we don't want such for Nigeria? And Akinwale Akinsoya finally says, present someone with the capacity to lead. Thank you so much for engaging with us on YouTube. We'll be moving the conversation into another direction as we're looking at the Nigerian Medical Association and their potential to strike when we return from this break.
Welcome back. The Nigerian Medical Association some weeks ago, precisely on the 2nd of July 2025, issued a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government over what it called unfavorable allowances, a warning that could lead to a nationwide doctors' strike. The NMA is demanding the withdrawal of a controversial circular issued by the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. They say it violates past agreements and worsens the already dire conditions for medical professionals.
The bone of contention, you ask? Here it is. There was a circular dated June 27, 2025, which attempts to revise allowances under the Consolidated Medical Salary Structure (CONMES), but the NMA says it's misleading, inadequate, and a breach of collective bargaining agreements from 2001, 2009, 2014, and 2021. And they're not just upset about the numbers. The NMA claims that they weren't consulted at all. They had submitted corrected adjustment tables, but those were ignored. Instead, the government issued a unilateral circular that the doctors say doesn't reflect economic realities. Joining us for today's discussion is the first Vice President of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Benjamin Olojebutu. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you here. Let's go back to this June 27 article that is causing an issue. Talk to us about, the process. You say that the government did not consult you, and you say that the government hasn't, upheld its own end of the agreement. So talk us through why it's an issue.
So every time there's an increment in salaries, there's what we call collective bargaining agreement, CBA, that is going to set up between an employer and an employee. So in government, government brings the professional association together and have a discussion. So since 2001, there has been a particular CBA that has not even been followed since that time, because they've been shuffling our salaries, as the case may be. So this particular one, we now requested, before the circular came out on 27th of June, we had calculated properly what it should be with the agreement we had originally in 2001, 2009, 2014, and sent it to this National Income and Salary Wages Commission. We're thinking that we're going to have like a bargaining, like a meeting, but nobody called us for a meeting, and just on their own sat down in their offices, did their own kind of mathematics, and just give us something just like that. Nobody does that in the world. Even international labor law talks about you having a discussion with your employee. I'm sure you guys can't have the same salary for the past like 15 years. No, there has to be a bargaining, and this commission has failed to give us an opportunity to have a discussion, and that's very, very wrong of them.
Have you raised these issues with them, and what are the consequences of them not listening to you?
We have raised that. That's why we have the 21-day ultimatum, and we're thinking this is 6 days to the end of the 21-day ultimatum. We've not really seen anything from them. The first thing we asked them to do, importantly, is to withdraw that circular. It's misleading, it's insensitive, it's very, very, very inappropriate, it lacks credibility.
first thing you should do as a sincere commission of government is we apologize to you, NMA. We take back this wrong circular, but nobody has spoken to us at that time. And we're just waiting this 6 days to the end, and we cannot guarantee industrial harmony after 21 days. That's how it's going to be.
So the circular shared by the federal government, can you share with us what it actually highlights? Is it beneficial? If yes,
it is not beneficial because normally there's an agreement.
Okay.
If you don't go with the agreement, how can it be beneficial? So it's far from being normal. It's abysmal. That's what you use. Because if somebody just sits down and says, if you're supposed to get like 100% increase in your salary, in your allowances, somebody gives you 1.7%. Look at 100, look at 1.7%. We're not even asking for an increment.
Is that what they're saying?
Just 1.7%. Yes, just obey the CBA, the agreement. Just obey it. If you obey the agreement properly, the salary will naturally just increase on its own because there's an agreement already. But you sat down, you didn't obey the agreement, you just sat down and said, okay, no, this is what I feel that these doctors deserve. Give them 1.7%. Who does that now? With the kind of work we do in this country, the kind of overload work condition. You have one doctor to about 10,000 patients now. Nobody thinks about how we live, how we help our families. Some people have not gotten their MRTF allowances in the last 1 year, and they are doing residency in this country with a lot of stress. Who does that now? And you just sit in your office because you have very good air condition, or maybe you have a very posh office and say, this is what these doctors deserve. Just take it. No, it won't happen again in this country.
Yeah, but Dr. Job said those that will argue that, doctors are not the only ones that are complaining. The military personnel complain about work conditions and what have you, ASU, you also have the teachers. So there's a myriad of problems across the country, so you can't be treated specially. They also argue that you took the Hippocratic oath to serve the people. So why are you complaining now? And why do you threaten industrial strike? Your industrial strike is a life and death matter at the shortest notice. How do you respond to
you know us now. Alice, you know me, you know a few of us. You've met us a couple of work, and you know how passionate about this country. How few of us have stayed back and said, no, we can't leave. Even with the opportunity to leave this country, we have said, no, we're going to stay in this country. But you can't, we are human beings. We have livelihood. We have things to do with our lives. We have families to take care of. We have things. We have ideas. We have career progressions to do. But you can't say because we have signed an oath, we should be hungry. We should die. We have lost a couple of friends doing ward round in the office. We have lost a couple of doctors just dying because of overworked, having chronic diseases that they cannot afford to even take care of themselves. So who does that and says, okay, because I want to labor for the country, I should die doing that? Nobody does that now.
Do you feel like this new circular that has been put out, the June 27 circular, feels like adding salt to injuries, coming off the back of the St. Lucia deal that was criticized as well by the NMA?
It is more than so, like pepper, adding pepper to injury. So you just demean people. You look at these noble guys that are doing this work. We have over 230 million Nigerians. You have barely 30,000 doctors serving them. Right. And you think these doctors don't deserve good life? No,
hold that
think about it.
I want us to also speak about the NMA's position regarding the St. Lucia deal, because whether we like it or not, collectively as a body they may criticize it, but there are some doctors who will be excited about the opportunity to be posted abroad. But we'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll tell you more about that. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the Nigerian National Medical Association and their complaints to the federal government, especially regarding the June 27 circular. And we have the first Vice President of the NMA here with us, Dr. Benjamin Olojebutu. Thank you very much for staying with us. I want us to speak about the St. Lucia deal because it sparked a lot of conversation on social media, outrage from a number of Nigerians. Even the NMA publicly criticized the decision to post medical personnel to St. Lucia. However, there are some doctors who will be excited at the opportunity because they go to St. Lucia, they earn approximately 40 million, whereas if they stay back, they're earning, I think, roughly 11 million, thereabouts. So what are your thoughts on the St. Lucia deal?
I think it's wrong timing. I think it's very unfair to Nigerians. Can I shock you? St. Lucia has about 180,000 people population. That's like a Longo in Kano, or like a street in Agege. So you leave 230 million people that has 30,000 medical doctors, to leave to St. Lucia that has just 180,000, what is the rationale? What is the mathematics? What is the compassion value that you leave your country that needs these high-tech, passionate medical doctors, medical service, and see you want to go to and serve 180,000 because of political gain or relevance or because of kind of diplomatic ties.
Yeah.
Now, if you say you want to take them in, that's fine, that's what I think, but pay the doctors that are working in Nigeria. That's the money you're going to pay Nigerian doctors that are going to go and work there for 2 years. That's about 40 million. So if you say baseline, if you say you're paying them 3 million every month, that should be the same baseline you pay the doctors that are going to work here, that are going to serve 230 million people in rural communities, and these doctors that are dying almost every day. Doctors now do calls, some doctors do calls for 30 days in a month. That means they don't go home. They live permanently in the hospital. Why? Because the hands are not plenty.
And what's the current doctor-to-patient ratio?
1 to 10,000.
What is the required?
1 to 600.
My goodness.
So
there's a huge deficit.
So it means for me that government is not taking Nigerians seriously. They're not taking us as doctors seriously. So they just think because we signed the Hippocratic Oath, we should be dumb, we should be foolish, we just work and die. Can I shock you? Most doctors cannot even buy a proper car for themselves anymore because inflation has, imagine the salaries you earned 10 years ago is what you're still earning now. The last time we had a collective bargaining agreement was 2014, 11 years ago.
Can you share with us what's the salary structure of a doctor? I mean, just looking at it monthly on the average.
The lowest doctor now is about 250,000. That's house officers.
320.
250,000 now.
250.
Yes, that's like the lowest cadre of doctors on the cadre. Highest doctor is about 1.5 million every month. A professor. Okay. So look at how long it took you to become a professor, and the people that you have trained, and that's what you earn every month.
So if we do 250,000 naira earned by a doctor times 12, that's about 3 million naira in a year.
In a year.
3 million naira will not buy you a Toyota Corolla.
It will not buy you a food.
It will even pay your rent in a very good area.
Correct.
Because 2-bedroom now in a very good area, and doctors need to sleep properly, rest well, take care of themselves.
You're a good man. You're a good man. If you help us have this kind of conversation, I think what we need now is that all of us as Nigerians, let's start talking about these conversations. Help us make Nigerians see us seriously and make government serious because we're dying.
But talking about conversations, the current Minister of Health, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, is said to be a man with the listening ear. He knows the issues. Can you talk to us about your engagements with the Federal Ministry of Health? How hands-on are they about fixing these issues? Because, I mean, you look at UCH, look at the teaching hospitals, it's a sorry case. You almost think our leaders not embarrassed about the state of healthcare in their own country, because that is one of the basic things you need to sustain life.
I like that question. Are our leaders not embarrassed? Are they embarrassed? No, I don't think so. Because taxpayers' money just goes to their pockets. Nobody's accountable for anything. So, talking about the Minister of Health, he's trying, but a lot of things needs to be done very, very locally. Local content, local ideas, things that work for us in Nigeria. Understand the cultural deficiency that we have in this country. You can't just bring ideas that are very, very, very good, maybe that works in better climate in America and in London, in the UK or in Russia, everywhere, and say it will work in Nigeria. No, there must be understanding of the local policies, local content. How does this benefit Nigerians? How are the doctors working extra hard? For example, how do you know? I asked myself, does the minister understand that there's one guy in Kafanchan that works every day from Monday to Saturday to Sunday, then to Monday? I have friends that don't even see their family, don't even see their children for weeks, working for Nigerian, working tirelessly.
No one should even, regardless of the medical field, no one should work in those conditions. Yes.
So you think people that are in government should think like that, but they don't think like that. They think it's your duty to work and you die. And guess what? When you die, that is all. Nobody remembers your family. There's no insurance. There's no support. You just die. And I thought of, I said, the way we celebrated President Buhari's death, that's what we should celebrate when a doctor dies in this country. Because when one doctor dies, that means you've lost a doctor that will see 10,000 patients. So you should bury them with a lot of dignity, love. But you see what? Because somebody can sit down and say, I have ear pain, I can jet out to America. I can jet out to France.
I was just about to come to that because you now mentioned former President Muhammadu Buhari, who's just passed. And one of the conversations that his passing has sparked is the fact that he passed in the hospital in London. And that has now also exposed the acts that politicians have any slight illness. We saw that with President Muhammadu Buhari when he used to go abroad for dental checks. President Tinubu has been traveling a lot, even though they call it a working vacation. So let's talk about that. The thought of the enemy, your thoughts about the frequent travels and the fact that medical tourism it seems to be something that is encouraged by our political class.
I think it is not love for country. It's not patriotic enough to not fix your country and go spend the money of those that help you pay taxes in another clime. The amount of money that is spent on in those trips, you cannot quantify them. The extra code you collect, the kind of money you spend on those. And can I shock you? Most of the doctors treating them in those places are Nigerians. I know a lot of them that tell me, that gives us a story back end. And the guys there, even they are sorry that you leave the best guys in this country, the best guys in Nigeria. They know the best technical guys, passionate guys that understand, that spend their personal money furthering their training outside the country. They are here. Sacrifices. They are saying that we have opportunity to live abroad, but no, we want to stay in this country. You know why? Because we believe that there are researches that we can do in this country that are peculiar to Africans. Some drugs we'll take that is peculiar to the Western guys might not necessarily work for Nigerians or work for Africans. But when we have continuous research about how our body is, how our genetic makeup is, it will make us improve the quality of life of people living in this country. But I'm very, very dismayed. I'm very, very unhappy. It pains me that people don't see what we see, because very soon, in the next few years, medicine and study will go into extinction. Nobody wants to be a doctor again, because you know why? There's no future to see.
And it seems there's no state of emergency that has been declared on the medical sector. I saw a video on social media yesterday, a picture of a young boy that was brought into the emergency ward. You could see it was, they were trying to refer him to another hospital. They had to put him on a drip on the visitors waiting bench. That used to be the star hospital in the whole of Africa. You had doctors from all over the world coming to UCH Ibadan, and we've seen the decline. Students had to go on strike. The Minister of Health Power had to be embarrassed to fix that situation. Let's not even talk about the living conditions of these doctors. So, as a member of the NMA and as somebody who is, you're very hands-on, you've seen the decay in the health sector firsthand, and looking at the whole of the problems. It's almost the problems every step of it.
Every step.
Where do you begin to fix things? And can we get back to the glory days? Because we're not reinventing the wheels. We've been there before, of Nigeria being a health powerhouse.
Well, first, I think there was a collective understanding of that Nigerian dream, if there's one again, that the government should be willing to show love to the people they serve. Number two, I think health should leave the concurrent list and go to the exclusive list. Because you have the kind of money you spend on ammunition in this country, the kind of money they spend on, even though we don't see but because it's on the exclusive list, there's a legal backing to spend that kind of money. But health is on the concurrent list, so there's no legal backing to spend a lot of money on healthcare, and there are no accountability. You can see that for example,
just wait for the budget, and
yes.
That's it.
So the budget, not even adequate enough, but because it's concurrent, you say, okay, some states can do this, some can do this. But if it is an exclusive list, the federal government has the sole capacity to fix this country health-wise. If they love the people genuinely I'm not asking people alone to say, what can you do for Nigeria yourself? I think there should be a law that says no politician in the first 5 years should leave the country for for medical tourism. If you want to do well, fix your country. I was telling people, somebody else, I said, Jimmy Carter died, he died in America. Nelson Mandela, great, died in Joburg.
Professor Jonathan Mills of Ghana
died in Ghana. Jerry Rawlings died in Ghana. So why do we enjoy dying abroad as president?
Sorry, because of time, I just need to ask this question. I think we're out of time. 300 dentistry students risk expulsion in Unical. I know you've been following that story as well. And then lastly, do you think you should get like private investors to also support the medical system?
I think so.
Because I've been talking about Dangote, Elumelu. I know I had a guest fight me over that and said it shouldn't be, but he's not a medical person.
Yes. So first things first, the Unical students, I think it's wrong for the university to have admitted them and said they cannot graduate. I think it's wrong. We're already working on it back end because you cannot. A lot of the students now, they're having risks of suicidal already because they want, it doesn't make sense spending from 2017 till now and say you cannot graduate. It doesn't make sense. We'll try to fix that. We're doing back end, talking to MDC and talking to the university and so we can work that out immediately. But as I've said, there must be investment. So investment in healthcare is not necessarily about profit immediately. I think a lot of our private investors want about immediate profit. In other words, they're going to oil and gas because there's money immediately into banking. But healthcare is about social service. How do you see people treat your life, your community? For example, you cannot say because you are very, very, very a billionaire and you can go abroad. If you think about 1% of those in your community that can never afford to see a doctor, you want to invest in healthcare and just make it like, okay, this is my own CSR to the people. And I believe that putting this money into this investment will make people pray for me and my life can be long again.
Right. If your demands are not met in 21 days, what next? In 30 seconds.
We cannot guarantee industrial harmony in this country in the next 6 days. That I know because we're going to have an emergency general meeting that we're going to take another course for direction. I believe if we have a listening government, they should have called us now 17 days after we demanded it. We had meetings with DSS, we had meetings with Ministry of Health, and we've not had proper meetings with those that matter. First things first, it's very simple. Just withdraw that scrupulous circular. It's common sense now. But nobody's listening to us, so we'll see.
I mean, that's why we have this platform to give the NME a chance to air its grievance, and we hope that it can come to a negotiating table with the government. And the government listens because they're a very critical part of Nigeria's, healthcare, Nigeria's healthcare infrastructure. We don't want people going to the hospitals and not being able to get access to medical intervention because they're on strike. Nigerians deserve better than that. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Ellen.
On a much lighter note, Lagbaja saw the importance of doctors and he talked about the sacrifice in 1996 when his son baby the sacrifices people made.
Thank you very much for saying
that. And your spouses.
Help us talk to people. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
You,
let's now bring you breakfast headlines. Resigns begins with a strong refutal from the federal government over claims of a new terrorist group operating in Nigeria. This follows a recent statement by the Turkish government, which warned the members of the Fethullah terrorist organization, also known as FETÖ, are active not just in Nigeria but across several countries worldwide. The Turkish ambassador-designate to Nigeria, Mehmet Poroy, alleged that the group was using schools and healthcare services as a front for its activities. In response, the coordinator of the National Counter-Terrorism Center, Major General Adamu Laka, has called for calm, assuring Nigerians that there is no evidence of any new terrorist group operating in the country. Meanwhile, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has described as genocide and terrorism Tuesday's attacks in Jebu village of Riyom local government area of Plateau State. The governor was speaking during his emergency visit to the affected village. Immediately, he arrived at the Yakubu Gowon Airport, Haipang, from an official assignment. The governor promised to improve the security architecture of the area while assuring that culprits will be arrested and brought to justice.
But let me promise you, Riyom will not come down. Amen. By the grace of God, we will use every means at our disposal to make sure that this genocide comes to an end. Amen. I don't know who will tell me that what happened yesterday is farmers' herders clash. No. This is an act of terrorism. This is pure genocide. And I can assure you that we'll escalate this matter. Please be patient. I want you to be patient. Like Dr. Jambol said, we will not throw the baby at the bathwater. There are gallant soldiers that have stood in defense of the land, and we thank them. But certainly there are bad eggs. And we are going to take appropriate steps to make sure that these bad eggs are fished out. We cannot continue like this, and people who are not ghosts or spirits attack communities and disappear into thin air.
Still in security news, the Defense Headquarters Assessment Team has commended troops of Operation Fasanyama for their resilience and dedication in combating terrorism and criminal activities in Nigeria's northwest and parts of the north-central region. During an assessment visit to the OPFY headquarters in Gusau, Zamfara State, the team leader, Major General W.B. Idris, praised the troops for their professionalism and interagency coordination. He emphasized the importance of continuous evaluations to ensure operational alignment with national security goals and improve counter-terrorism efforts. Let us rest. This seems to be the cry of some senior citizens who are retired military personnel earlier on Wednesday when they barricaded the entrance to Nigeria's Ministry of Finance in Abuja in protest over unpaid allowances. The retirees from the first to fourth quarter retirement set of 2024 erected canopies, placing chairs at the gate of the facility to stop staff from gaining entry. A representative from the Military Pensions Board, Adamu Kichina, however, gave assurances to the protesters that their entitlements will be processed by the board following the conclusion of their documentation.
1st of April last year, which is 2024, their disengagement day. Why we third and fourth quarter disengaged last year, July 1st, last year. And up to now, Nigerian Army decided to pay us both the gratuity and the SDA, which like 5 months or 6 months ago, they come out by themselves that they know they short paid us last year.
You people heard what the PAPSEC said. He's working with us to make sure that you people get what you are looking for. And we have already told you, we on our own part have been working on that thing too. And rest assured, before next week runs out, you will get your payments. From here on out, if you people have any problems with your payments, please get in touch with anybody at the board. It doesn't look good for you to come here to start saying that you are not paid, even if really you are not paid.
And we are grateful that the PANSEC make us to understand that the minister is not in the country, but intervened, and he told us that, and you too, both of you said that within today till next week Friday, we will all smile.
Conversations. Veteran journalist and former presidential aspirant Dele Momodu has officially resigned from the People's Democratic Party. In a letter dated July 17, 2025 and addressed to the PDP ward chairman in Iyeve Onwa East local government area of Edo State, Chief Momodu announced his immediate departure from the party. The renowned media mogul cited what he called the hijack of the party by anti-democratic forces, accusing them of eroding the party's founding principles. And that's all this morning on Breakfast Headlines. We now continue with Breakfast Central. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to review the newspaper from pages, and we're not doing it alone. We're joined by a friend of the house, a very knowledgeable gentleman and a great analyst and a great public affairs analyst. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Wade Aine, Head Strategy and Public Affairs at Nairametrics.
Good morning, everyone.
We're happy to
Good morning, Joe.
It's a pleasure.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Olive. I didn't see you on there for the last
so many
2-3
things
days.
happen.
My village people were after me, but
okay. So many things have happened since the last time you were here. And that's how the news cycle works. You know, every day is different. But let's start with our leadership, with the leadership newspapers. Let's see what the headlines are saying. Inflation drops to 22.22% despite high food prices. So new statistics from the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. That looks like good news. Would further x-rate during the course of front pages review. Kano probes death of 2 students in Bichi School. Federal Executive Council holds Buhari tribute session today. Obasanjo and Yakubu Babame divided over 1999 Constitution. Makinde APC George react as another heavyweight, Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, has left the PDP yet again. And the writer says, crisis drove me out of PDP. It won't be me, says the Oyo governor. Ex-VP left to pursue personal interests, says Chief Body George. Is a political wanderer. The APC has reacted to that. Misconduct, 151 senior police officers face sanctions. And 1 month after, 107 survivors of Benue attack still in hospitals. But I want you to react to the inflation dropping to 22.22%. If you speak to ordinary Nigerians, quite a number of them will tell you, you know, they can't feel the impact of this inflation dropping beyond the pump price of petrol went up during that Iran and Israel conflagration.
The pump price of petrol has remained higher than when it first went up. We agree with that. Okay, so it's just been swinging between 800 and 950 thereabout, or 800 and 1,000. But you know, while you were saying that, I remember that our platform did put up an article yesterday that says that dry onions are up 30% and pepper up 16.67% in Lagos. So when you start to tell me that inflation is dropping, I start to wonder, yes, they've done some rebasing of the items of the GDP, but what in my own opinion as an analyst and as someone with a background in finance, what I think you should do is show us side by side the new rebasing formula and what the existing one is for at least the last 6 months, which should at least give people some comparative knowledge about what has happened and how you determine that inflation has dropped from over 30% by almost 10-11% in 6 months, and prices of food still haven't come down. Prices of petrol, yes, that one is also influenced by the international market and the exchange rate, which has been relatively stable at about 1.6. However, these days I'm scared of looking at that data. Why? Because when you start to punch the holes that you think you would see, then everybody will say, oh, you are not, I know these days, once you say something, it's like, you are not patriotic.
Yes.
I love Nigeria with all my heart. Like I always say, what I am today is Nigeria. So, but the fact remains that I don't think in the reality of the everyday man that inflation has dropped that much. Some people believe that it's even gone up, with also when you consider the fact that more people were thrown into bottom line poverty over the last 2 years, about 10 million from the estimates that have been provided. So you moved from about 133 to about 143 or 145, which really, it's even more difficult for the everyday man to get to get money. Those who earn money on a daily basis, not to talk about those who earn salaries at the end of the month, who by the time the salaries are coming, it probably won't take you out of the house, not talk about the bus stop.
Right. Okay, let's go to another paper. Let's look at the Punch newspaper this morning, and on the front page of the Punch, Buhari's CPC bloc may dump APC. Some CPC chieftains likely to quit, but APC remains unshaken, says Shitu. That is, of course, the Congress for Progressive Change. Shatima Atiku Obi attend Buhari's Fidal in Daura. Insurgency NAF to acquire 49 new fighter jets. 151 top police officers under investigation, says NPA. Fayose whips as court clears ex-governor of 6.9 billion naira fraud. I'm sure that's the story we'll start with. CBN injects $4.1 billion to defend naira as reserves decline. Another story to look at. 2027 Atiku's PDP exit sparks political firestorm. JAM uncovers 9,460 illegal admissions in 20 tertiary institutions. Obasanjo Anyoku push for better leadership, new constitution. Let's start with Fayose. Fayose whips as court clears ex-governor of 6.9 billion naira fraud. He went ahead to eventually celebrate with Amala. We could see a video of him and some construction workers enjoying a good plate of Amala. The court had said, you know, the court had stated that there wasn't a prima facie case established against him, connecting him to the allegations of fraud. Now, several allegations: collecting money and bypassing the financial authorities, a financial institution, collecting money for his gubernatorial aspirations. But the question is, did the EFCC do a thorough enough job? If you've been investigating a matter since 2018, it's in 2025 we're now finding out that there was no prima facie case established, that they can't link the allegations against him to, even the witnesses that were presented by the EFCC, that they don't have a strong enough case to link him to the commission of those, that crime. Let's get your thoughts on that.
Okay, so my thoughts are very simple, and we've said this a number of times. The EFCC prosecutes alleged criminals on the front pages of the newspaper.
Media trial.
Media trial, thank you for that. So it doesn't beat me, because this is not the first case that has been thrown out. If you spend 7 years to investigate and everything you take to court, the judge just throws it out, it just tells me one thing: you didn't do your homework well. And it's as simple as that. So if the court can determine, then maybe, just maybe, the man is innocent, because you have to be proven you are innocent until proven guilty. You know these things. But in Nigeria, you are already guilty by just mentioning, EFCC invites Lagbaja. Person is
they haven't even gotten into the case. God is saying that for it to even get to defense. Yes,
that's my point. But of course, everybody has labeled you a criminal because the FCC says they are investigating you. We've said this a number of times, and I will repeat it again today. Do your investigations, have all your documents before you even announce what is going on. I've seen not only across what do you call them, first world countries, but even in what's it called, the the former, I can't remember, the former president of, I can't remember, one of the Asian countries, he went to jail because he had been investigated, and this was like 5-6 years after he had left.
South Korea.
So, aside from South Korea, there's another one. I think it was Malaysia or something. These are examples. Do your investigation. These investigations on fraud, it's not one day, because you have to be able to, you have to be sure to request that you can have this evidence of this money is moving through bank accounts, whether it's or through cash movements and all. And if a man collects funding for his election, of course his donation towards his election, that's how I would read it.
Right. Okay.
So just before you move on, I want to ask him a question on that same issue. So is it an EFCC problem as an organization, or is it the lawyers in EFCC that need to do a better job at prosecution? Because if you look at the system, the system works very well when they go after people that are spraying naira notes. Those guys in charge of that department.
Yeah, maybe because we can see those fiscal evidence. But the truth of it is, when you are investigating frauds, especially as it relates to money laundering, money wiring, kiting, and all, is a lot of work that you need to do. Some of this,
not just the lawyers.
Not just the lawyers. Not just the lawyers, because you have to speak to financial institutions, you have to speak to those who claim that they move these monies around, and so on and so forth. We also saw a former governor in this Nigeria that the EFCC couldn't arrest, and went to jail in the UK for some of the same charges that they were being, that he was being alleged to have committed. And he was tried, and the documentary evidence was there. The linkages were there. So what exactly are we doing? Let's stop all these continued XYZ stole 10 billion and is on the front page of the news, and we're talking about it today.
And a number of these people, we don't even see their mugshots, whereas these young boys, once you hear that there's an allegation, a potential allegation or suspicion of internet
the ego begin to gain muscle. The CFO, by the way, of the NNPC under Mele Kyari has been invited for questioning over billions of dollars.
When they invite you for questioning, you don't need to take your mugshot, please.
No, he's not talking about the mugshot.
I mean, he's been arrested. They said he's been arrested.
So they've arrested him.
Yes.
That's fine. I hope they have the documents and the evidence that they are going to take to court. Because also, there are laws about how long you can keep people. 72 hours. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And then you have to ask for an extension. Many times the court will tell you that it can be more than 2 weeks. So for the 48 hours initially, then another maximum 2 weeks. I'm not a lawyer.
I mean, just to highlight as well, this mugshot conversation, there's been public outcry against mugshot and, identification parade. A number of the time what we see is that they put people out there, put their pictures out there when you haven't even tried them. There is no case against them.
You haven't arrested them. You haven't even brought out the
evidence. No, they would have arrested them, but they haven't charged them to court.
Oh, so no, once you're arrested, please, once you're arrested and for an alleged crime, yes, and they have that, they are going to pass the case on to court. There is enough evidence.
So what I'm saying is what is happening as opposed to what should happen. What they do is a number of times you see arrests are being made. People are arrested for fraud. Their pictures are made public, but they should be taken to court first.
Yes, and it's against the Constitution.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is against the Constitution. Even the lawyers have spoken against it over and over.
Maybe that's why they stopped that TV program called Crime Fighters, where you see people. Oh, they're still crime fighters.
Oh, wow.
They show people with their DVD or those that stole fertile goats. They hold it.
Please. I want us to talk about finance. I mean, this is your area. CBN injects $4.1 billion to defend Naira as reserves decline. I remember when the policy about the unification of the exchange rates had come up, a number of people were saying that this was putting the cart before the horse, that they should have injected enough dollars into the economy to sustain when the pushbacks, the pushback will begin. Do you think that this is a great move by the CBN?
Oh, yes.
And it will support the Naira?
Oh, yes. Every CBN defends its currency. And it is important that you do that if you want stability, economic stability, and transaction stability across the economy. And I would never fault the CBN. But what CBN has done over the last 2-3 years, over the last 2 years, or over the last a year, let me put it a year, is they have systematically brought out policies that would help improve transparency. That I can say. Are you with me? The monetary policies have been apt to a large extent. The fiscal side is what everybody is always asking. How do you complement the fiscal along with the monetary? But yes, if they have to defend a currency, and they have been, and one of the reasons I think the CBN is able to do that now, which is part of their mandate, is because there is better transparency in how the system of foreign currency comes into Nigeria. Like I always say, I won't defend the policy just because the policy is right on paper. But when you implement the policies, and I have seen, and believe me, I have seen, I have monitored, I have heard, and I have spoken to a number of economists, and the CBN has continually tried to bring out policies that would help defend the currency. And yes, they must defend the currency. They must play in the market too. So if CBN doesn't play in the market, who will play in the market? That's it. So yes, I agree that 4.1 reserves must go up and down. The essence is to try and get more avenues of getting foreign exchange into your reserve, which is where the fiscal comes from. If oil production has not gone beyond 1.5 million barrels in the last 10 years, although we hear that it's gone beyond that, do you understand? Yeah, maybe with more local players coming into the fray now, at least on the online production
downstream,
production facilities, then you would start to see more better managed security, better alignment with community management and all. However, the CBN, that is one of their functions, to ensure that you have stability of the currency. But it's not just to defend it for the sake of defending it, but to make sure that the economy is stable. When this economy was doing yo-yo with foreign exchange, we all knew what happened.
But Ghana's currency, the cedi, it's gained a lot. Is one of the best performing currencies in the last 6 months, and that's because of the Reserve Bank of Ghana's intervention. And IMF is saying that they need to hands off and stop intervening. How do you react to that?
The American government or the European Central Bank pumps money into countries because of just to make the economy stable and price stability, what does the IMF say? They bring out these monies. So what exactly are we talking about?
We're African countries, I guess that's why. So
well, I don't want to say that is it. That's been, for me, that's been discriminatory. But let's play the rules by the rules. IMF says they've given us enough loans. So where do they think that we are going to inject these monies that they've been giving to us? Is it not inside this economy? And who is going to inject it inside the economy? Is it not the CBN? So are they going to not use the money to defend your currencies for it to be stable so that you can even get people doing production and get even local currency revenues from there? Please.
Let's move on to the next paper very quickly. Even though there's a story there that I would have loved for us to touch on, insurgency, NAF to acquire 49 new fighter jets. We're starting to see
have they just before you go on, have they supplied the 6 that were bought on that Buhari?
Of course, they said they did.
And then one crashed not too long after.
They said they did, and the Tucano jets.
Yes, the Tucano jets.
And then those jets prevent the 32 people that are killed in Riyom. Those sorts of, because when you talk about
they've invested so much on drones and so much, because a lot of the bombings that are carried out these days, it's not the fighter jets. So why do you need 49 fighter jets? Why? To pack them on the Air Force, what's it called?
And are we going to have any...
So are we going to war with another country?
Exactly. That's what
are we going to have any... Maybe sometimes, I think a security expert will tell you that they have to look inwards on our security architectural system.
Use drones.
If it's strengthened...
Use intelligence.
You need to keep... Every country strengthens their security system every year. You look at the number you have in comparison to other countries, and then you try to beef up. That's why budgets are being made. But in terms of this one, they say they acquire new ones. Possibly it's to fight insurgency.
Do you know how many doctors 49 jets would take?
Benga, we had that conversation not too long ago. Let's move on. Let's go to the Guardian. And the Guardian front page there, Obi Atiku defend absence as Lukman flag shift in endorsement. Tinubu showers praises to lead Buhari's tributes at FEC meeting today. Atiku's PDP exit letter aimed at stealing spotlight from Buhari's death, says Festus Kiyamo. Chetima leads Fidao prayers for former president in Daura, and Chinese President Xi sends condolence message to Tinubu. I'm going to take you, we're going to have your take on the death of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari. Aside that, I'd also like you to touch on, but let's start with that one first.
On his death?
Yes.
May his soul rest in peace. A Nigerian who tried to the best of his abilities and capabilities to work for Nigeria, some positive, some negative, which is what life is all about. But long and short, for me, I don't think his almost 10-year stint as the leader of Nigeria was productive enough. I think they were the least productive years of this country in a 65-year history. That's my opinion. I know some people would differ. I know some people will say, oh, war against indiscipline in 1984. When you set systems right, are you with me? And people are penalized when rules are broken, then you don't need to set up a special program. Yes, you can't set up the program to educate people. In my own opinion, he did more harm to Nigeria's economy over his two stints as leader of this country. I remember between 1984 and 1985, the Senko's issues, which was huge, where middle-class families practically became non-existent, and people who could afford a carton of milk could only line up and be flogged by you know who, in the name of war against indiscipline, and in the name of simple human beings just trying to get their daily bread.
Where human rights was indeed violated.
And so that's it. Then on the issue of Atiku or Obi not attending, it's their personal prerogative. Let's not play in politics with these things. If for one reason or the other they were not available, then they will be there. If they were not invited, let's also remember this, because you know in Nigeria there's this saying, Mubomuya. Some people will believe that if you don't put me on an invitation list, what am I doing there? Yes, they are leaders in their own right, but sometimes you will be amazed that they are not on the guest list.
But they made it to the third day prayer, so doesn't that
just
count?
Yesterday.
So if they were not invited for the burial, does that mean they would have invited them for the 3-day prayers or the 8-day prayers? They are different things. And let's also remember that the burial of a president, which is a national issue, is a major security issue. You know how many presidents were there? You know how many, ex-presidents were there? You know how many governors were there? Do you know what...
Visiting heads of state.
Exactly. Do you know what it takes? And then you now add to it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you see, let's find out, were they on the guest list for that burial? If they were not, let's also remember that it was the federal government of Nigeria, are you with me, that actually handled the burial arrangements of the ex-president. So if they have not been invited, why do Mubomuya? And that's very important. The other thing I really like to touch on briefly as we're talking about this article issue is the issue that the CPC bloc might leave APC. Just 30 seconds on that. Before Buhari left Nigeria, one of the last people he saw was Abubakar Atiku. Exactly. We don't know what they discussed. So all these Atiku, like you know.
And then what do you take of Atiku's resignation,
for the third time,
which came, for the third time leaving. They said third time is a charm, right? Is that what they say?
Are you taking us to the professional league? No, because we have to talk about it. Atiku is
there's no club that has signed a player 3 times that has come back to the club 3 times.
No, there's
we are going to the professional.
How do you know?
I have one for you.
How do you know? Please, before you say this thing, do your homework properly.
He didn't return to the same club.
3 times. 3 times.
3 times. Twice maybe. You've had coaches who have gone back to their clubs. Lampard, went back to Chelsea 2 times. To manage interim.
Irrespective, if a player is very attractive to clubs for reasons best known to the clubs, of course they will invite you. And if you meet their transfer fee, and you pass the medicals, of course you will join them. And if you go back,
has joined this morning.
Huh?
Chief Dele has joined this morning as well, dropping his resignation letter. We're waiting for Dogora to possibly do the same, and then
maybe a few governors
we said that the transfer by September, October, with this CPC block that we are hearing, that's what we say. Let's see those who will actually, be able to get proper clubs, or those who will get loan. But at the end of the day, it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting next year and a half.
Yeah. An interesting one indeed. I think still on the front page of The Guardian, it would be very, very, insensitive of us not to talk about the killings in Riyom. Plateau urges calm as Riyom attack. Death toll rises to 32. Again, this feels like rinse, repeats, repeats. The Plateau people on the Plateau haven't caught a break.
Well, and we can't stop talking about it, so it can never be a broken record, because lives of Nigerians have been taken, and everybody seems to be playing cat and mouse with it. Oh, once anything happens now, they'll say is communal dispute. What disputing what? I can't remember. What are people who are hungry, who can't go to their farms, who can't get a living? What are they fighting over? Land that they cannot till? Like you said earlier, just before we kicked off, or just at the beginning of the show, we need to recheck our security architecture system. We need to revamp it. You understand? So all this insurgency coming up again, we need to buy 49 new aircrafts, warplanes.
Those are fighter jets.
To fight.
Getting ready.
And the kinds of war we're fighting these days is not your traditional war. It's not. And when countries who understand that wars, Ukraine and Russia are fighting traditional wars. Terrorism is not traditional wars.
Asymmetrical.
Yeah.
That's because the way people is an ideology that people are passing, and people will do anything for that. They don't care. It's not about targets, whether it's soft or hard. Their belief is if you can get that target and it's vulnerable, we will do that. And that's why people will wake up in Europe or in America and carry a gun or carry a knife and start stabbing people on the road, because it's not your traditional warfare.
So how do you prevent that?
How do you prevent that? Is improving on your security architecture and ensuring that when you get tips, you do proper investigations. I'm not a security expert and I don't claim to be one, but there are some simple processes that you must follow. You see, like I always say, I'm a process person. If you don't follow the processes, are you with me? Then the day something happens, you will be held responsible for not just missing one process, because out of 5, you followed 4 and it has worked for you. The day you miss out on that one again, and then of course they'll fire you, because that's why those things happen, and that's what happens with the AFCC.
I want us to, just to touch down on one last take for me on The Guardian. Let's look at the differences that did erupt yesterday between a former president and one who has, from the beginning, from the get-go, has always called for a constitutional reforms. I'm talking about former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and of course the man who has been at the forefront pushing for reforms. I talk about Chief, you could call him Ayoko as well. Yesterday, former President had said that during the reforms, I'm sure you know about the Patriots, their meeting, which obviously kicked off yesterday.
This Patriots he was there from Buhari's time.
Yes, and they decided the 2014 confab was not implemented. They have already mentioned to the current president that he might want to take a look at the 2014 confab and see what he could pick out from there. But then again, they've decided to meet this time, and the meeting has generated mixed reactions. One of it is that the former president says that he doesn't think it is the reforms that is the problem. He thinks it is leadership. However, Mr. Ayoko says, no, it is actually the reform that is the problem, because what we're using now was given to us by the military, and it is we have as a 1999 constitution, which he thinks should be abolished and changed. Differences, and here we are again. Where do we stand in the conversation? I don't know what your take is. Is it a crisis or?
It's both sides. Are you with me? Leadership has refused to have the political strong will to implement even some of the good things that are in that constitution. But the second part of it, which is what the former Commonwealth Secretary General is alluding to, is the fact that, yes, it was a constitution that was given to us by the military. And I would have to use an example to help explain some of these things. And why do I use that example? If you go to South America, there has been so many countries who went through military-style rule, and they have constitutions that everybody continues to bicker. Oh no, you should change this part, or you should no. Chile, I think one of the most successful economies in the world today, and the most successful economy in South America. We all hear Brazil, 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 but Chile doesn't ring its bell, you know, like the as loud as they well, people. But I have shared experiences from people I know. That constitution was rewritten because the youths in Chile, at a point in time, believed that all the constitutional reforms that were being passed did not speak to the things and the issues that were currently going on and what people were looking at issues for the future. So they came down, everybody sat down, they set up a constitutional committee, and they wrote a new constitution that was for the people, by the people, and is going to be acted upon by leaders who have been elected by the people. And in the last 10, 15 years, I haven't heard of magnitude of chaos. And this was a country for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. There were riots on the streets every year, after every election. So what exactly are we talking about? Yes, I do agree that the 1999 Constitution was given to us by the military. And when you look at it, in my own opinion, and maybe constitutional lawyers would differ with me, is many of the things that I see there, are you with me? And if you do implement them, will be successfully implemented, will make a lot of sense. But it still has this tinge of authoritarianism.
You know, I absolutely agree with Uwade's analysis, and using the Chilean example. They were under a long dictatorship under Augusto Pinochet. So we can juxtapose, and we are still suffering from a hangover of the military rule, which we inherited, which gave us the 1999 Constitution, until Chile sat and had a people's conference and said, look, we need to read this document. He said it, they were riots.
We have to change every election, whether the man who was voted in was liked or not, it was the same story. You can't continue to use this same thing.
What about the amendments from the National Assembly? Patches here and there.
So that is, I think what he's driving at might be that it's a flawed document in itself.
In itself, in my opinion, it's flawed. Whether it goes, there are a lot, there are some very good parts of it, but we all need to sit down and look at in Nigeria. Where do we want to go? Do we hear even our own children's voices?
I think that's what the confab is trying to. That's what
the idea of the confab is restructuring.
Exactly. And restructuring doesn't mean we won't have a national or central kind of governance system. It just means that people want to be heard.
The president had said that there was going to be a youth confab in February. We are in June.
Let me tell you one thing. Let me say something.
Reminds me of the statement. What's going on here?
I don't know what's going on, and the truth of it is, I mean, everybody says Nigerians are quite docile, yes, and there are reasons, in my own opinion, for that. And what I see is that Nigerians get to a stage where they just get tired, and like they say, when you get to the world, just look for a new place that you can just, have peace of mind. It doesn't mean that I am better than the man who is living next to me. It just means that I just want my peace of mind and go about my daily activities. But the one thing I always say, and I will continue to repeat, we must first and foremost be Nigerians. If we are not Nigerians, no matter whether you call youth conference, because when you go there, one of the first things that will happen is state agitation, to the extent that Wade Ahime's house wants to become a state. Do you understand? Wants to become a state. And so on and so forth. And these are the things that we must look at, a system that will work for everybody, give everybody equal opportunities. And like I continue to say, and I'll repeat it as the last thing, there is nowhere in the Constitution, Olive, please ask your legal friends,
you want to go back to
that there is state of origin.
This conversation about constitutional review, we would have it.
It's part of the conversation at the reform.
As a segment.
But it's not in the Constitution.
No, it's part of the conversation at the reform.
You're not getting it. What's the conversation? Apply even the rules of residency as you have it in this Constitution today. Not everywhere I go, someone will tell me, okay, what's your state of origin? What's your religion? What is your business with where I follow?
I got my SIM. I was able to get my SIM yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
It was down. I had to stay for 2 hours. It was down. It would come up, they would rush. To come up, they would rush. So, and then again, I saw a lot of people who got frustrated and left. I stayed.
Right.
And I was asked, what is your state of origin?
I want to quickly wrap up and take a few tweets on YouTube. There's been a bit of an argument. Sayo Eluyera says, our focus now should be removing APC. Chukwuemeka responds saying, should it be just focusing on removing the APC and suffer misrule for another 4 years, like we've been suffering since the removal of Jonathan? He then goes ahead to say, our leaders, both past and present, are not embarrassed at the level of healthcare we have in this country. If they were, our healthcare will not be abysmal. And then he reacts to a package we took during the news when he says, you people, you will retire someday and be addressed as you people. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I know you pointed that out as well.
You people.
We just want to say thank you to those who
Nigerians
keep watching us
more like
virtually and dropping comments and engaging with us on social media. Thank you so much. We appreciate it and we look forward to continuing this tomorrow. But as we wrap up, I want to give a special shout out to Nkiru Oko, author and one of the most influential Black women in Canada. Thank you so much for being an absolutely amazing friend and sister, and I wish you a wonderful year of celebrations back to back. This is how we draw the curtain today. Thank you for joining us. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga, and it's not Breakfast Central without a shout out from Olive MOD.
You know how we do it.
She's a shout out queen.
You know how we do it. But this one is a very special.
Thanks, Wade, for coming.
I have to shout out.
Thank you. And thanks, guys.